Speaking of Magneto taking over, right? He's got the last will and testament of Charles Xavier,
which is a Bible.
Book lengths.
Yeah.
Published.
It's leather bound.
Published and engraved. I saw that. I noticed the same thing. I was like, Charles.
And as to the T-shirt that I have in the fifth drawer,
everything like down to the last sock. Yeah.
Right. And if 10 years from now these things happen, I would like you to do this. However, if this goes on longer, yes.
Yeah, but it probably, of all those pages, it's all Eric's.
Yeah. Then just some pictures doing this.
In front of like,
yeah.
Young Junk. Doodle-oodle-oo doo-doo. Doodle-oodle-oo doo-doo. Doodle-oodle-oo doo-doo. What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the Cult Pop Podcast School for Gifted Youngers. Shut up. Youngsters, episode 69.
For the young people.
Wink and a nice show where we talk about movies and TV and nostalgia and comics and breaking news. Oh, and all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. We're coming to you live from Young Junk HQ. Young Junk. A bomb-ass podcast production space in Philadelphia, PA. See? Brian, that's how you do it. I'm your goblin-y clone of Jean
That's not how I
Grey.
do it. That's how
JD,
Len does it.
that's how A does it.
JD, Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street. Super rad comic shop, which caters to nerdy and nerd-adjacent individuals of all shapes, sizes, and genders. With me tonight to talk is Brian.
Yes. Correct.
Noel.
Where?
And returning champion Len the Bat Tribble.
What's up? Holla at your boy.
Do please holler at your boy on the chat. There's a chat we got up so you can chitty chat with us, and you can like and comment and subscribe and hit the little bell.
So if you want to actually holler at him, just make sure you indicate in your chat what tone of voice and exclamation points. Give us stage direction, and then Brian will do it.
Also in the booth is our trusty producer, Dylan the Great. Remember, if anything goes wrong, Dylan did it.
I was just thinking about it earlier today. The 5 best producers of all time. Dylan.
Yeah.
I appreciate the credit, but all credit goes to Dylon on that one.
Dylon.
Sorry, Dylon.
Speaking of the chat, Robert Monroe Jr. is already popping, saying, "What's up, Cold Poppers? I just finished episode 3 of X-Men 97, and I'm liking it so far. A few weeks ago, I found my VHS copy of the first 2 episodes of the X-Men that I got from McDonald's."
Okay, Robert. I'm not loving it. I'll be honest with you, because subtle correction. I believe it was from Pizza Hut, not McDonald's, because I was obsessive about it when I was younger, and it's called Pride of the X-Men, the first 2 episodes where they introduced Kitty Pryde.
Why didn't we look this up before?
Yeah, where's Kitty Pryde?
We were talking about that during the show. Was she a big part of the original one? I don't think so.
Wait, Pride of the X-Men?
Yeah.
The first episode's about Jubilee.
She was their pride.
Oh, no.
It was unrelated.
Oh, no.
Jubilee was the first one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Everybody's
the
got that
viewpoint character.
There's a really great scene where she is playing at an arcade, and she uses her powers by accident, and it breaks the machine. He goes, "Hey, you know how much that costs?" And she goes, "$0.25." Kids, ask your great-great-grandparents what an arcade was. Eddie Madison is also...
They'll say it was like either a shopping area or the place where you watch Nickelodeons. When you put a nickel in.
Nice.
Ask them what a quarter is.
Just saw episode 3 of X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. Amazing show. Kitty Pryde for X-Men 97 season 2, says Eddie.
He is a proponent of this, or he's heard it, Eddie?
Well, he's probably looked it up.
So these are the VHS. There were 2 VHSs from Pizza Hut, Creator's Choice, and it was select episodes. And one of them was Pride of the X-Men. So I bet they did the original animated movie and then the first 2 episodes of the show.
Well, there's the one, I don't think I've ever seen it, but there's the one where Wolverine has an Australian accent.
That's Pride of the X-Men.
And that's Pride of the X-Men. So yeah, that was made before this show.
It's the exact style and everything too. It was probably just the pilot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
like
it's
a pilot.
the proof of it. Like they proof of concept.
Proof of concept.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we have an email. We got letters.
We have letters.
We got lots and lots of letters. Hey guys, it's your boy Charles in Chattanooga, aka
Chattanooga.
Charles in Chattanooga,
Which you can
AKA
also sing to 2 Radiohead songs. Maybe I'll do it at the end of the show.
Please don't.
Which
AKA the
Radiohead
Green.
songs?
Maybe
do you
I
guys
will.
know that I'm reading a letter?
No.
AKA the
Do we
Green
have
Lantern.
letters?
Ask the question.
Jesus fuck.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's your boy Charles in Chattanooga, aka the Green Lantern Tribble, if that's still a thing.
Sure.
It's
Okay.
forever.
Still
It's
a thing.
always
You're
a thing.
forever a triple
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
Once and always a triple.
AKA How 2814, the way Brian says it.
Cool. Up 2A14.
That's the way.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
been a minute since I sent an email or chat live on Wednesday nights, but it's not because I've stopped watching. It's because of my schedule. I'm in bed at 7 p.m., so I miss the live show, but I always watch it later during the week, which is why I named the email Sloppy Seconds. I'll keep this short. I hope you guys are enjoying X-Men 97 as much as I have. I actually clapped at the end of the opening scene and theme song of the first episode. It's good to see Cyclops get showed as a badass finally. I thought the third episode was the best so far. Can't wait to hear what y'all thought of it. Until next time, I'll enjoy the sloppy seconds and watch latest episodes later in the week. CultPop!
Nice.
Thank
Nice,
you.
very nice.
Yes.
We'll talk about it in grand detail when we get to the main review. But yeah, I had similar emotional reactions to the main theme song. 3 episodes in, I'm still not skipping it.
No, I
So
didn't
good.
skip it.
Yeah, that's one of those ones.
They've been changing it too per episode.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they
that's
really
right.
add or subtract characters.
Oh, so in the second one, yeah, Magneto shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was pretty sure
X
there
is
was something
gone.
different in the third intro.
All the stuff with Morph was different in the second one.
And Sunspot is in the third one.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yes.
missed that. Nice.
So they're changing
You
it
missed
every
'cause you haven't
time.
seen it yet.
Hey, Len, welcome back to the show. And I have one burning question to ask you, and that is, what have you been up to this week? Huh?
Well, I'm glad you asked me, JD. Actually, what I have been up to since I stepped away from the show is I have been reading comic books, and not just any old comic books. I've been reading very old comic books. I've been reading.
How old?
Oh,
How
I'm
old
glad
are
you.
they?
I'm glad you asked. From Marvel, I dipped back into the 1970s and was reading Marvel 2-in-1, which was the comic book that started the Thing where he teamed up with somebody. And specifically back in Marvel 2-in-1, I can't remember the issue numbers, but there was this block of issues where the Thing was called the Project Pegasus storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to like Project Pegasus, was this underground like faux shield type of situation where they check on heroes and villains for their powers and see how they can manipulate them and use them and all this type of stuff. And Thing goes there as kind of like gets involved in a mystery. It's a big who gives a fuck. But he teams up, and Marvel 2-in-1 was Thing teaming up not with like A-list Marvel heroes, but and not even B-list. So he's teaming up with, I think it's like 4 issues, and he teams up with Wondar, Quasar, Thundra, and the Black Giant Man. So we're not talking about this is not
top tier
Thing in Captain America. However, because this is the 70s, it's interesting that these 4 issues, which remind you, this is the time where they're not doing 4-issue arcs like regularly. It's just like whoever you can get to do the books. Yeah. The first 2 issues are drawn by John Byrne. And the last 2 are by George Perez.
Oh, wow.
What?
Oh.
And it's like, and it's right like that maybe 1 to 2 years before each of them become the guy.
Yeah.
But you can see that they are on their way to becoming the guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
in both of these episodes.
I'm looking it up. It's also Grunwald
Yeah, Mark Grunwald
and Sal Buscema
Buscema. Wow.
with written by Ralph Macchio.
It's
not that one.
It's
I only knew him as an editor.
No,
it's a Karate Kid.
they all started somewhere. You know what I
written
mean?
by Ralph Macchio and Mark Grunwald with Roger Stern, penciled by Sal Buscema, John Byrne, and George Perez with Alan Milgram.
Yeah, and Sal Buscema, he maybe did 1 issue, but like there was definitely. Yeah, now think about it. It may not have been more than 4 parts, but I only really cared about the 4 parts because it was 2 by Byrne and 2 by Perez. But it was just, and the story is like whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But just to see them like as they are cresting, you know what I mean? And to see like, Sal Buscema and Al Milgram, as good as they are, but you can tell by looking at Byrne and Perez what's coming as far as the change in art style and everything like that. It was like really dope. Like, and it's taking me back to being a kid. And I was like, I can't believe I read this stuff. Like, I was sitting there like, I was like, oh my God.
All right.
So then I fast forward. I said, all right, well, that's my Marvel stuff. So now I'm in the midst of rereading for DC, the Giffen and McGuire Justice League International and Justice League Europe, which was Bart Sears.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a, Sears is not my dude.
Are you ever going to go to Detroit?
No.
You going to skip Detroit, just stick with JLI?
Nobody goes to Detroit.
I never read Detroit.
Wait, that was before, wasn't it?
Detroit was
Justice League Detroit, and then
Justice League Detroit is after.
Is it
Is it
after?
after?
After like the Blue Beetle,
Justice
Booster
League
Gold
Detroit
stuff?
is what precedes JLA.
Oh, that directly preceded, and then they were like, "You're not in the Justice League anymore."
Yeah,
We are.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to Detroit. But doing Justice League, well, first is Justice League, and then it's Justice League International, and then it's Justice League Europe. But now I'm at the point where Europe is out, International is out, so I'm flip-flopping between the two books.
Who's in which team? We've got Flash is in International, right? An elongated man.
No. Flash is in Europe.
He's in Europe.
That's
Which
right.
I thought they were.
So Europe is Captain Atom, Flash, Power Girl,
Fire.
Metamorpho.
Yeah, Europe's the heavy hitters.
At one time, Animal Man, he quickly leaves. At one time, the Russian dude, Rocket Red, he leaves. Wonder Woman's there for an issue.
Crimson Fox.
She comes. She's just coming in.
Okay.
Whereas International is Martian Manhunter, Fire, Ice, Guy, Beetle, Booster, and Batman in and out, and Mr. Miracle in and out,
And Barda a little bit, right?
Yeah, and Barda a little bit. Yeah.
Is that International takes over for America? So there's International in Europe at one time.
Right.
Okay. Right.
My back issues, I hate it. I hate the way, like, I never know where to put them. Like, do I put them alphabetically? Do I put them not sequentially?
I've definitely thought of organizing my comics in like story sequential order.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you reading them?
I've gotten to the point now where, because Justice League International or America, whatever the fuck, crosses over with Europe like maybe about 2 times a year. So when I see that it's about to cross over, then I just go back and forth.
Wait, no, I mean, are you digital or do you have
I'm
the
digital.
book? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm digital.
Because I know that like they've collected a lot of the JLI stuff, but not a lot of the Europe shit.
This is pretty much, it's been every Europe one so far that I'm reading. Because I'm reading up to, because I used to own all of them until I think Aftermath is when the both books end at the same time. So I just felt like rereading them. To be honest, you remember them being classic and funny and hilarious, and they are kind of funny. They're really kind of stupid.
Oh,
They're very stupid.
Yeah.
And it quickly has gotten a little bit on my nerves, but now I'm like deep in it, so I gotta finish it.
Even less than, so I recently reread a bunch of early 2000s stuff, and that's stupid. But I liked it when I was 20 years younger. So,
Yeah, you did.
I mean,
So
Captain America would say that, and now it's like, God,
Yeah.
Captain America wouldn't say that. That's so stupid.
I know.
Because it's all product of the time.
Was this the late 80s or the early 90s?
It's 80s.
80s? Yeah.
It's so 80s because it surprised me. Ronald Reagan was so.
Oh, okay.
I was like, whoa.
I'm going to chime in real quick because I have my own what you've been up to, but I have also been revisiting classic comics. So I've said it multiple times that like the G.I. Joe, the Marvel G.I. Joe stuff by Larry Hama is one of the things that really got me into collecting month to month. And so I've been going back and reading the late 90s, early 100s G.I. Joe. Like, but the year that came out was like 1990 is right where I am at the sweet spot. And it's drawn by M.D. Bright.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
M.D. Bright, man. I did not realize how peak G.I. Joe was at the time, that I was like, I was living large with some MD Bright on G.I. Joe, because there's some terrible art in some of those G.I. Joe Larry Hama books. But yeah, I just sit there. I've got them digitally, and I've got my tablet. My son's asleep next to me, and I'm just in the dark reading these old G.I. Joes.
That long?
What's that?
Was he on there that long?
MD Bright?
Yeah.
No. But he was a shining star when he was there. Like,
yeah.
That was
It's anyone
my favorite.
It's only been Larry Hama, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
I mean, that's how he made his bones. I mean, that was his world. He loved that type.
Well, he's still writing it. It's
Yeah, it still comes out.
302,
Yeah.
303.
I'm reading the current version of it, and it's still great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Brian, you look like you were going to say something?
Did you guys know that, I recently read, Keith Giffen did not intend to do that version of the Justice League at all.
Oh.
He was going to do the original 7 members. And then one by one, DC, the editorial, was like, you can't do Superman. He's here. Wonder Woman has not just come around. She shouldn't be it, right? And then so ultimately he was left with
Batman.
Right, Batman. And then he would like Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Guy Gardner was the Green Lantern that he could use, and whatever else. Shazam,
when they cared
Captain
about
Marvel.
continuity. Right? Now they're just like, whatever.
Because it was coming out of Legends.
Yeah.
Well, and I also wonder how much it was like, you are not going to be steering Superman at this point.
I see.
Right?
Well, because it was coming out of
early
Legends,
after
it was
Crisis,
still, Byrne was
yeah.
still kind of like infused with
Yeah.
Superman at that time.
Yeah.
That reminds me of James Robinson's Justice League from like the early 2000s.
With Night.
Yes.
He was like, you have the Justice League book. And he's like, yes, you can't have any of the characters people know.
Mhm.
So he made a book of like the Blue Starman, Kongorilla, and Speedy.
What?
It was a good book.
It was an interesting book.
It
I don't
was.
remember it being good, but it was like, this is fascinating. Oh, Vixen was like maybe the most popular character on his team.
I don't remember this at all.
They messed around with the
Nightwing,
Justice League a lot
maybe?
at that time because when McDuffie, I think he may have come right after Robinson, and he wanted to kind of like
Meltzer. It was
Was it
Brad
Meltzer?
Meltzer, then McDuffie, and then Robinson. And by then it was like, you can't have anyone.
Yeah.
Was this at the end of like after Morrison?
This was before.
It's
Yeah, it was after Morrison.
Way after
Right,
Morrison.
It was
way
after
after.
Morrison, but
Yeah,
it was before Infinite Crisis.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, what you been up to this week, huh?
Well, Resident Alien came back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is this season 3?
This is season 3.
Okay.
And it's still really good, right? It would be very easy. So the plot of the first season is he comes to Earth. He does not want to be here. He is here to destroy humanity and leave.
Yeah.
But the ship breaks, and so he inhabits this human and whatever. And
Hi, Jinx.
he has very high jinx.
Yeah.
And
The highest of Jinx.
yeah, you can barely reach him.
Yeah.
But he gets him every time. And you're
Top
like,
shelf-
yeah, you
top
got it.
shelf jinx.
Top shelf jinx. That'd be a good segment for the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
So it would be very easy for a show like that in season 3
Yeah.
to have run its course.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? To be done and still going, you know? And that has not happened at all. It's still a lot of fun. There's like reason for him, growth from him, and like reason for him to stay, and like problems that he has to face. Linda Hamilton is now a semi-regular character.
Nice.
And yeah.
I love Alan Tudyk. He's a great.
He is great.
Yeah, he's
He's
fantastic.
a lot of fun, and like he's been in so many varied things, and I think he does a really great villain, but I love to see him as a good guy because
Yeah,
he's more fun that
Yeah.
way, and he kind of toes the line. He's like
Oh yeah.
a real jerk in this,
Yeah.
but he's you root for him.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. All the characters are really well brought to life. The sheriff is very funny, and I just saw him as a police officer in some other older movie that we were watching, because that happens sometimes. Seems to happen a lot with people who play police officers.
Oh yeah.
That they are like Reginald Val Johnson in Die Hard.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like they're not the same kind of character or officer at all.
And
But-
yet,
right? He does both of them. This guy, he's great. He's got a lot of funny lines. He was just they were talking about ghosting someone, and he's like, what did ghosts talk to people? That's like one of the primary things ghosts do. They're always communicating, moving stuff around.
That is
pretty good.
That actually is a pretty terrible analogy.
Yeah.
Like to ghost
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
To disappear.
It means that
Ghosts
you
don't
you're
disappear.
just being
Right.
creepy
They
and haunting
literally
me.
show
Is that what
up
that means?
because you
the
can't
thing.
see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it.
That was a really good point.
That's a good bit.
And yeah, it's fun. It's a fun and funny show. And I recommend that you watch it.
I did watch it. I watched the first season
Awesome.
and I found it to be absolutely delightful.
Nice.
And then I just forgot about it.
I watched the first 2 episodes and I liked it.
Nice. And you forgot about it.
Yeah, because I was busy
He ghosted
watching. I was busy watching stupid things,
Right.
like the new Roadhouse on Prime.
Is that what you've been up to this week, huh?
Yeah, I was just going to segue into it without
All right,
having to hear you say
Shut
it
up.
again.
Did you watch the first Roadhouse?
I've seen it a good dozen or 2 times.
All right, go.
Okay.
Yeah.
With
I have never
Patrick
have.
Swayze.
With
right?
Patrick Swayze.
Swayze.
Pain Don't Hurt.
So
Be
Swayze.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen
It
it.
was one of my mom's
Pain
favorite
Don't
movies.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Ah.
Have you seen it?
No.
Roadhouse, the original Roadhouse?
Not
Are
seen the
you
original Roadhouse.
remember who you're talking to?
Seen a lot of things, you guys. It's not the same things.
I mean, you know what? Yes, not just the same things, but also like
arguably too much TV.
yeah, the original Roadhouse from 1990
Ish.
No, more like 89, 88, something like that.
Late 80s. Yeah.
Patrick Swayze, I forget about the details, but just Patrick Swayze is brought into he's hired to clean up this bar, this concert saloon, because nothing but terrible people are causing a ruckus. You find out that these people are hired by the rich guy on the other side of the lake who wants to buy the property. So he's trying to make the place uninhabitable and unpopular so he could just buy it.
This is the Roadhouse.
This is the Roadhouse. This is Roadhouse OG. Swayze's
No,
Roadhouse.
I mean, this structure is the titular Roadhouse.
The place
Okay.
is called Road
House.
Space House. That's the name of the bar.
I thought that was
Roadhouse.
Swayze's name.
You thought he was
Here comes
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He's coming.
No, his name
That
is
guy is built like a shit Roadhouse.
his name is Dalton.
Not a very good Roadhouse.
He's like a very zen. The way that they present him in the movie is like a Ronin. Just comes into town,
That's cool.
fixes problems, is very chill, has a dark past, doesn't talk about it.
Does he leave at the end? Like the American monomyth that sets the course of our lives?
No, I think he sticks. Wait, actually, does he leave at the end?
It
No, he sticks around.
happens so often.
In the
It
original
sets,
one, he
like, our
sticks.
tone of
Well,
what a
no,
hero
because
is.
the new, like, to spoil the new one, leaves town, but that's not the point. It's a great movie. There's lots of throat ripping. First one, watch it. Roadhouse.
There's lots of.
The first
that's the move, right? That he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you rip your throat out.
The whole movie is based off of he's chill. Then they push him
Until
too
he rips
far.
your
He's
throat
just
out.
sees red and rips out throats.
That's
Great.
my only way. Can you rip your penis off? You think?
I mean, if you give him the opportunity to rip your penis off,
I don't think
I'm
I
sure he
would, but I
could.
mean, if he had the opportunity,
What
if he
if
was in a
you're deep
sauna.
throating? Never mind. Go ahead.
We've taken
Are
a
you-
turn.
Hey,
How's the new
Len.
Roadhouse?
happy to be back.
How's the new Roadhouse?
So the remake, it's a remake of this classic starring Jake Gyllenhaal. I forget her name, McClure from Suicide Squad, Ratcatcher 2. She's the main female lead. Pull up the cast, because there's so many cool people in this movie, including Conor McGregor, who's not cool, but he's in this movie.
not
Daniela Melchior, Jessica Williams, who's awesome, and Billy Magnuson,
Oh,
who's
I like
like
Jessica Williams.
one of the main baddies, is super great. But Jake Gyllenhaal is a disgraced former UFC fighter.
Of course.
Would disgrace for like a bad thing or something you can understand?
You find out throughout the course of the
Okay,
movie.
all
Yeah. And he's down in his luck trying to make money. He goes to side fights and people see him and they just don't want to fight him, and he wins. And Jessica Williams sees this and she's like, I'll hire you for a month, $20,000, $5,000 a week, just clean up the bar.
She runs the bar.
She runs the bar. It's her family's bar in the Florida Keys.
Nice.
And it just goes from there. He just tries to stop people from being assholes to be nice. And then it just kind of keeps escalating to the point in the movie where he sees red and decides to do something about it.
You ready to somebody's throat out?
It is incredible. I mean, it's beyond that. It's incredibly visceral. It's really fun. It's directed by Doug Liman,
Mm-hmm.
who did Go,
Oh,
Born Identity, Live, Die, Repeat. Sorry, Edge of Tomorrow, Swingers. Tons of really
I like
great
Swingers
movies.
too.
You
Yeah.
did Swingers?
Yes, tons of really great
Oh.
movies.
I always thought that was the other guy.
There's
Yeah.
there's the way that he captures the violence in this movie is actually pretty impressive and very pretty. Like, he uses a lot of digital tricks. You see them, but they just consistently kind of work. You know, like he'll have the actual actors do stuff and you could tell that they are like digitally manipulating maybe like them to be a little closer so you could see contact, but they fill it in, and he'll hide cuts between like camera whips, and it's a really visceral, cool movie. It is trash. The movie is trash.
But not garbage.
Not garbage because it's
Not wet.
It's fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
It
wet.
knows
It's not
what it
sloppy.
is.
Yeah.
It knows exactly what it is. Jake Gyllenhaal is so fucking charming in this movie too, and it's just a fun, stupid movie.
Is he
Like, it's a
Zen,
good sick.
like the other Roadhouse?
Yes,
All right.
until you find out his backstory and he sees red and things go bad. And the bad guys are really fun and funny. Like,
Well, yeah, it's got I know this dude, Joaquim de Almeida, from Desperado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the guy paying off the bad guys to go be bad in the Roadhouse?
what, do you want the?
Is that a spoiler?
Spoilers?
No, it's
Yeah, I didn't know
spoiled.
that would be a spoiler. I thought in the beginning he would be like,
I can
I'm going to
answer
pay
these-
some guys to tear
Also,
up this Roadhouse.
Post Malone for some reason.
Post Malone
Yeah.
is in 4 seconds of the movie and it's hilarious.
That's
But
on brand.
the main bad guy, the main like physical bad guy is Conor McGregor in his first movie role. He's fucking terrible. He is not a good actor.
I'm about to say, is he like?
However, he is so fucking good in this movie.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
because
Okay.
he's terrible. Like he is just a giant muscle
Yes.
that articulates words kind of,
Mhm.
and you could tell all of the words are ADR'd later.
Oh wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
But-
Is he a famous
he's-
person before this?
He's a very notorious UFC fighter.
Yes.
All right.
Also
He was also a plumber.
a bit of a
Really?
but yeah, we're reading his
Well known
Wikipedia right now.
from that.
But he's like so bad it's almost fun.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to be bad, this is the movie.
Like
Right.
yeah, there's
Roadhouse.
one scene specifically where like so they square up twice in the movie. In the first one, they do a couple of really fun camera tricks where after one hit, you have now the perspective of Gyllenhaal getting punched.
Mm.
And it's just a fun visceral movie.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Should I go back and watch Roadhouse 1?
The original Roadhouse is like it's a very nostalgic, silly 80s movie.
But it won't
With-
be nostalgic
with
if you
very
haven't
strong
seen it.
performances. I keep forgetting his name. The handlebar mustache, main guy.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
No, old man.
Sam Elliott?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott
Nice.
is
He's
like
so good.
the second lead in the original
Yeah.
Roadhouse, and he's awesome. And the
Oh.
two of them together,
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze and him, it's just really fun. But you don't have to watch the one to make sense of the other. It's
I should hope not.
Yeah, it's
Last time on Roadhouse.
they're both fun, trashy movies.
When I heard that they were remaking Roadhouse, like, and I kind of remember seeing Roadhouse. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool, but I wasn't like that much into it. So I was like, really, to remake a Roadhouse? But I realized that the people that love Roadhouse.
Yeah,
But Jake Gyllenhaal was actually the one. I was like, I don't know about Jake Gyllenhaal, but I'm hearing that this is.
It's a solid movie. He's also like maybe just a little bit more dialogue than like Keanu Reeves in the John Wick movies. Like,
Okay.
He does like 40% of the movie is just like looks and eyes and presence.
Smart.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to. And hey, I mean, isn't it on Prime?
It's Prime
Yeah.
streaming on P Rime.
There you go. So we'll check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Roadhouse, directed by Doug Liman.
Dope.
I
What
am
have
a
you been
Doug
up to
Liman
this
fan.
week, JD?
Well,
Huh?
oh god, I saw the Ghostbusters.
Me too.
I saw the Ghostbusters.
Frozen Empire?
Frozen Empire.
Roseanne
Oh,
and
yeah.
Peter.
Directed by Gil
Old Country.
Keenan.
Gil Keenan.
Written by Jason Reitman and Ivan Reitman.
Reitman.
Stars Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and every single person and extra that was in the original Ghostbusters. I think
That's
is in this
nice.
Oh,
movie.
also every
Except-
single extra that was in Afterlife.
Except for the dead guy. What?
Well, no.
And Rick Moranis.
Everyone that was in
Moranis.
Oh, and Rick.
all the movies except Rick Moranis.
So I had no interest in going to see this movie.
Huh.
I enjoyed the last one for what it was worth. I was like, oh, this is cute.
Which was Afterlife. right?
Afterlife, and I thought it was. Did they just like CG Egon into the end of that movie?
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
It's just like
I would assume.
I felt a
Yeah.
little weird about that.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
but I was like, it was cute. It was
But
fine.
it can also be, like, it was his son who was part of the decision. And
Yeah, his estate
Like,
approved
if
it.
and
I
they-
was in that
and they did it
situation,
with-
I might be like, yeah, that would be great. Please
they
do
did
that.
it with Paul Walker in the Fast and Furious movies.
His brothers were stand-ins and stuff. I rewatched it for the first time. It's half the movie's like nostalgic and good. Then it becomes, we're talking about Afterlife. Then the whole third act becomes a complete beat for beat remake of the first movie, shamelessly.
Yep.
And then there's this, he shows up and it's emotionally satisfying. But when you think about it for more than 5 minutes, it's like,
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, like, because all the new characters that we met, I really liked, and then
Yeah.
they just were sidelined completely.
Yeah.
For the old people that showed up
Yeah.
for no reason at the very last minute.
Well, spoiler alert. We get a little bit of that here too,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. I had no interest in going to see this movie. I dragged myself there, and as soon as I sat down and stuff kicked off, I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And we're introduced to, every other movie seems to start with them restarting. Right, like we're reintroduced to the Ghostbusters, or they're working kids parties, and everyone hates them, or whatever. Yeah. But now we're actually there. They live in the firehouse, and they're doing their busting of the ghosts and what have you.
So they're functioning.
And they're functioning, and
Like
it's a family. It's a family of Ghostbusters. So the family from the last movie start off this movie, and then throughout the film we start to get reintroduced to the original Ghostbusters. To different effect, I would say. Some of the original Ghostbusters have quite a lot to do. Some of the other Ghostbusters show up to literally pull a lever, which is also being pulled by like 5 other people. So they really just kind of put their hand on.
We're talking about Bill Murray. Yeah, he's in 2 scenes.
Oh, really? He's on the poster.
Yeah, that's why he's in 2 scenes. So they put him on the poster.
The first scene he's in, perfect.
Sure, it was fine.
It was fantastic. I thought the first scene he was in was fantastic. He's done for the movie.
Yeah, no need to bring him back. Anyway, anything that deals with the current busting of ghosts with the family, I thought was actually really strong.
Nice.
I thought it was really fun, and Paul Rudd made me laugh, and there was some good bits really in there. And they're sort of moving the characters forward finally. Like there's new technology that we're introduced to that I thought was pretty cool. What did you think?
More or less the same as you. I liked it better than Afterlife. But I liked it better than Afterlife. There were too many characters.
Yes.
Even from the last movie. So there's side characters in Afterlife, Podcast, and Lucky. They shoehorn them in the most inorganic ways here, and it's like
you could have just left them in the other state.
They're from Kansas. Like randomly, they have an internship here and a separate internship here, both in the same city doing the same stuff. I'm like, it's just plot armor. It's not really worth it.
And one of their names is Podcast?
Yeah.
Is that a reference? Like, was there somebody in the original Ghostbusters that had a name like Radio or something?
No.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan Aykroyd had a lot to do in this movie.
Yeah.
He seemed vital.
Yes.
He was part of the plot. Ernie Hudson had a good deal to do. Everything else just felt like filler. Patton Oswalt was great. Kumail Nanjiani was awesome in this movie, I thought.
But it was all right. I thought he didn't need to be there.
He was Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
He was like the normie that keeps getting pulled into
Mm-hmm.
because of his relationship to something. Like he was Rick Moranis. He was Peter Nichols. He was Yorgos. He was like the dude that kept getting pulled in, and I enjoyed that for him. It was really fun. But in a movie that's filled to the gills with other shit, it just seemed like a one-off. Yeah. Also, the movie is incredibly safe. Yeah. There's a couple of like they introduce some stuff like maybe all ghosts. Maybe you're trapping these spirits for no fucking reason.
So before I leave to go
sense.
to this movie, I'm at the comic shop, and I'm Ray is there, and I'm just all of a sudden on my way out the door, I was like, hold up a second, hold up a tick.
Yeah.
The Ghostbusters are fucking cops. Like they're cops who just go and arrest people, give them no trial, and then lock them away forever. They're just these ghosts that are just like doing the highest of jinx. They're
profiling ghosts.
What if we just lock away all ghosts?
So there's a really good subplot of the youngest character befriending a ghost, and it's honestly it's probably the heart of the movie, and it introduces a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's just kind of like, but it's all right, we're safe now, and you're like,
that one was really bad though.
Yeah.
Well, see, a lot of my experience with the Ghostbusters was the cartoon, right? Yeah. Just because there was a lot more of it.
The real Ghostbusters.
And possibly the Extreme Ghostbusters.
I don't remember the Extreme Ghostbusters.
I don't remember if that was even their name. But yes.
It was.
Was it?
There was an Extreme Ghostbusters.
But yes, and Slimer was a friend of theirs, and he hung out much like Beetlejuice was a friend of Lydia's in the
cartoon.
In the cartoon, right? I mean, it's a different reality.
Slimer's not. He's chaotic neutral. He's not an actual like
He's not.
antagonist.
No, I'm just-
But in the
thinking
movie, he was a
Beetlejuice.
ghost that got captured.
Yeah, but
Beetlejuice
he's
is a little
not.
weird.
He's not like a. Later on, he keeps showing up, and he's more of just like a pain in the ass, like a vermin, than he is like
In the movie.
a villain. Yeah, in the movies.
Yeah.
But he still gets captured.
First, and then he's out.
And he's out and he does his
Forever.
thing. And I also was never sure if the ghosts was it like a whole other reality that they were being sent to, which might be something I'm remembering from the show,
That was
or were
more
they
from the show.
more from the show? Okay, and or were they being destroyed or whatever? Which is not better than imprisonment.
So
Maybe it is.
ghosts are ectoplasmic entities, just energies, and they are contained in a giant tank.
Yeah.
And they just stay there.
Oh.
So they catch them and they put them in the tank.
Yeah.
And they just stay.
Ah, that's bad.
But one of the questions this movie asks is,
Should we do
what happens when we have too many?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they build another tank.
that was always the thing with the
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's 2 or 3 parts in the movie where you're just like, oh, God, if this movie wasn't so afraid of itself, then it would like,
Have an interesting conversation.
and also too, like without spoiling it, like characters should kiss.
all of them.
For sure. All the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I found the
making
big
up.
bad to be really boring. I did not
Really?
care.
It wasn't anything. It was just
Exactly.
like a dude with horns.
Yeah.
Like he had no personality whatsoever. He shows up in
Big
for 2 minutes in the
CG
movie.
thin guy.
Actually,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
that was a part of it. Like as much as I did enjoy my time spending at the movie theater, but thinking about it for more than 5 minutes, it falls apart. The climax was so fucking boring.
I actually I remember like kind of looking at my watch and being like, I'm checking out now. You're losing me, film.
Yeah, like
As soon as the big bad
big
shows up.
finale, because I did rewatch Afterlife. Well, at least the second half of Afterlife. After this, and I was like, oh, this was like it built up to this, and it was a big thing with like a whole farm filled with traps and stuff. Like that felt like a climax. This was like fire and that. Let's go. And then it just
Pull
ends.
that lever.
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic. And this director, Gil Keenan, great dude. He did Monster House and a couple of other really like strong flicks. This seemed like a little bit of a work for hire.
Would you recommend Ghostbusters Frozen?
There's enough in here to enjoy the watch, but more like a matinee.
or a day on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, a matinee, a day on the
You
couch.
don't need to see this in the theater.
It is not a great movie, but it's not a bad one. It's like but it's not mediocre enough to be pissed about it. It's like, all right, cool.
So if you
It's not
could have,
embarrassing. It's not great. It's not
so is
great.
it fair to say that if you could have switched positions, you would have watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire at home and Roadhouse on the big screen?
Absolutely.
Oh.
In a heartbeat. Actually, I would have rewatched Ghostbusters 2016 over this one and Afterlife back to back.
That had ladies in it.
It was 10 times funnier
Oh, that's
Ew.
right.
than all of
I
these
forgot
movies
about
put
that.
They
together.
got cooties.
I recently rewatched it. And it's a funny ass movie.
All I remember about that movie is Kate McKinnon. I
mean,
love her so much in that movie.
Chris
That's
Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is a
Chris
He was
Hemsworth
pretty
goddamn
funny
masterpiece in
as
that
a
movie.
himbo.
Yeah.
All right. It's main topic time, y'alls.
Have a good night, everybody.
X-Men 97 came out. All right, so guys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
I don't care for the X-Men not 97. X-Men pre-97.
92.
92 to 96. Did not care for
The
it.
animated series,
the
not
original
the X-Men as a
animated
concept,
series.
but the original animated.
There was
series.
4
Okay.
years in my life
what
where
I'm
the
saying.
X-Men sucked and I hated them.
Yeah.
92 to 94. 92 to
wow.
96.
So-
No, I was kidding.
Yeah, so I tried because I heard this was coming back, and I was like, you know what? It's on Disney Plus. I got that. Beep
Sure.
boop, put it on.
It's an old cartoon.
And
now.
I got about halfway through the first episode,
Yeah.
and I was like, never mind.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Do you guys have much experience with X-Men 92 to 96?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah?
I
Is that
was.
your John?
I was 11.
It was one of my Johns.
I was 11
Yeah.
when it was on Saturday mornings. So even if it was good or not, it was the only comic book content I was getting that I loved.
I feel like it's one of the first times that I was watching an animated show being like, this animation is terrible.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe
it was awesome.
maybe that
Why did
also
you think that?
aligns with your taste changing at the age of 13, 14.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
right.
Maybe
for
I'm
the
just
11,
above.
11, 10-year-olds, it was just like, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's got knives in his wrist. Like, yeah, it was.
It was Knuckles, but all right.
Yeah.
I was
he was only 11. Yeah.
You could, at 11,
didn't
you
give a
can't
shit.
discern
Yeah.
knuckles from wrists.
Right. The
Which
knuckle
one of
bones
these?
connected
They
to
go
the arm
into
bone.
his wrist. It's not, I'm not saying like, hey, like.
So what about you, Len?
Oh, I hated the show. I maybe watched. See, I watched the first episode, but being a little older than you guys, I immediately recognized the horrible animation.
Yeah.
And then immediately was also reading stories about the show. So I had heard about the troubles that they were having with the animation.
Oh, I'm unaware. Go
I don't
for it.
know.
Oh,
these
yeah.
stories.
Oh, yeah.
Give
Fill
us a
us
taste.
in.
Where were you reading these stories in that year?
Fill us up.
Like, what was it? Wasn't
With
it
stories.
Was it amazing?
Really?
No, it was like
Wizard, maybe?
Wizard.
Oh, Wizard Magazine. Oh, I missed that.
Wizard,
I missed
Hero
that magazine.
Illustrated.
Yeah, all
Comics
those.
Beat. Yeah.
So what had happened was not long after that movie that came out, that's when the
Pride of the X-Men.
Pride of the X-Men,
thank you.
they realized, okay, we can do the X-Men series. But they rushed it really, really fast. So at that time, they're hiring different houses to like kind of, do the animation. And they hired this animation house, and I can't remember the name, but when they got the work back, it was shit. It was like straight shit. There was like scenes where, Wolverine, like, I'm just paraphrasing right now, he might pop the claws and one claw come out. It was like shit.
The animation
work.
was so bad his powers didn't work.
Right. And like
Cyclops beams would just kind of dribble.
yeah,
It would just drip out of his
So-
visor.
Couldn't draw it far enough.
But the thing is they got to work back so late that they was only able to fix but so much of it before that we've got to put this. Which is
Interesting.
why when you watch that first episode, you thought, oh my God, this is shit. And it's like, and it was shit. Now it got better as the season went along because you got into other houses that were doing some of the animation.
And who knows if Noel and I even saw the first 4 episodes before the other way. Like when
exactly.
you're a kid, you're like, I might have seen it
whenever
6
you
months
can-
in.
I
you
didn't. I remember like counting down the days for the.
Oh, I see.
I mean, people
because-
were ready for it.
on prime time on Friday nights, they would a couple weeks before like the new season started.
Do the preview.
They would do the preview of all the cartoons that are coming this Saturday. It was either on like TGIF and Fox had their own version of one. Like they
primed the pump.
Of like at 7 o'clock on a Friday night for kids to see what they want to watch the next week. Yeah.
And a lot of that time, even though they might have shown you some preview from the episode, a lot of that preview stuff was from the intro, which was good animation, which was the music hyped you up. You was in. So, but me watching that, also you got to remember, I'm watching that and I'm coming off of Batman the animated series.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yes.
no.
Yeah. Like this would be maybe a contender for best animated intro of all time, if not for the Batman the animated series.
I mean, it's still a contender.
It's a contender.
I guess everything is a contender.
Yeah.
So I did
That's a good
not.
point.
I didn't finish watching the show when it was out. Like I popped out. I didn't I hit puberty shortly after. I didn't give a shit anymore. But also like going in general, as in like I slept in later and there was no DVR. I didn't watch
Start
the
missing
show.
it. Mhm.
But I went back when this was announced and decided to put on some of the later seasons of stuff that I know I never didn't see, or at least if I saw, I just completely forgot.
Ooh.
And I didn't like them at all. They were exactly like the kind of comics that I don't enjoy reading, where people are just like yelling exposition at each other and it's incredibly inorganic and boring.
Now, when you went back, did you go back to like the last season?
Yeah, I went back to like season 4, I think it was.
And that's the other thing, is that they did the initial, got the run, it got better. And I think they did maybe 2 or 3 seasons, which is the prime. And then, everybody loves it. So they're like, we've got to do more. So then they
tell
do.
me I should only watch like season 2 and 3?
Because then they
One
do
is
another.
shit,
They
4
do
is
another
to
season,
another.
and everybody says the last season is just dog
Garbage.
food.
Yeah.
It's just-
I actually was watching a what is those true trailers?
Honest Trailers.
Honest
Trailers.
Yeah, and they mentioned about like they sent it to like Bangladesh or something. and,
Yeah.
like, the animation's very bad.
It's hard to do something good at all. So when something does it even for part of its run, like that's still cool.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be better if it was all good. But speaking of the quality of animation, I did notice. So the intro is outstanding. I love it. The song
now
is cool.
or past?
Well, I mean, it's basically the same. But I
redid
noticed
it.
in the newer ones, as awesome as it is, and as much as I was way back into it as soon as it started, the final scene where they're all running at each other, they're like standing up running, and it just like kind of moving forward by moving their arms and legs, which I understand is an apt description of running, but it does not look like that.
They so for that opening, I mean, they completely redid it, as in like that's not reused old animation. They completely redid it. So choices like that have to be intentional. Like,
of course,
they made it look as inorganic, and because they even changed some of the characters out.
Yeah,
they did.
Like, yeah,
they did.
so like
cool.
they redid it. It's just made it look as bad as it did before, and I'm like, okay,
every time they do that running,
cool.
I kind of like,
I'm like, what is happening?
Not
Because the
quite
rest
right.
of the intro is
pretty
very
good.
well animated.
Yeah.
And I was like, as straight away when we got to the opening, it's all red, and you see Cyclops' eye, and it pans out, and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
That was the opening. I loved it.
Yeah. So moving on to the current one. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Just straight to it. I watched the first episode, and within 5 minutes, I think I was holding my iPad up, taking a video so I could tweet about Scott Summers. And it's this being the first time I like Cyclops. The way that they used his optic blast I've never seen that in live action or animated. Because you could probably try to do it in comic books, but I don't think it would work as well.
Wouldn't be as cool.
The way that he skates around backwards using his optic blast as a push, I thought was so cool. And the fight scene was really well done. It was really well choreographed. Within 5 minutes, I was like, oh, this is different than I thought it was going to be. This is much better than I anticipated. So I was in immediately. What about you guys? No.
More or less the same. Yeah, like you guys know that I have like a tenuous relationship with animated shows in general.
Yeah, it's
like,
true. You go snoozy town.
I do fall asleep often. It's just colors and lights.
Got narco
sleepy time.
Yeah.
I was pretty much riveted. Like I did not expect to like the show as much as I did. The second episode, I think is a masterpiece.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like I
got choked up.
It is a masterpiece of economic storytelling. Like if I describe to you the plot points of the second episode, a poor storyteller, that would take like 3 hours. Like there's more effective plot in that movie than there is in like 8 hours of Zack Snyder's movies. And they all work. Like it was so fucking good. Yeah. So fucking good.
And it should tell people that this is a continuation of the series.
Oh yeah.
Like it picks up where the original series
Charles
left off.
Xavier has been shot, and I think was taken with Lilandra to the Shi'ar.
Right.
But they on Earth either
like
believe
he's
him
dead.
dead or they're right.
I did not know any of that. I just thought he was dead.
It doesn't matter.
I was like, oh, Henry Guy Rich killed him.
They
Cool.
give you like
Right.
a little primer at the beginning of the show, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He may or may not be back.
Well, I
who
assumed
knows?
he's gonna show back
gonna
up
show back.
I would
eventually.
assume.
I will say
Yeah.
a little rude of Morph, because we see Professor Xavier walk into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, didn't that dude just die?
Yeah.
And
But
you're
he
just
comes
walking around.
in. So
Right.
that's-
He's walking in, and
I'm just
Cyclops
saying,
is
it's a little
like no one is surprised.
Yeah. No.
Everyone is like
The
"Mark,
rudest
enough."
thing in that scene is Remy's halter top.
That was some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That hard
That crop
body
top?
shirt. Yeah.
awesome.
I always loved Gambit.
Gambit's awesome. And
this basically.
I will never not be creeped out by Magneto and Rogue making eyes at each other. I will
Has
never.
that a long-term thing? Has that been
In
going
Age
on?
of Apocalypse,
Yeah.
they were together in Age of Apocalypse because they could touch.
I will never not be creeped out because just like
Okay.
Why?
The-
Because he's.
the age delta, it's like a 40-year gap.
But she's an adult.
He's an adult.
It still is a little weird because he knew her when she was not an adult.
You know what I don't like about Rogue?
Right?
In that original show, I have seen a meme
Mhm.
where she has 3 C's.
What?
Thickens.
She is thickums with
Uh-huh.
3 C's of thick.
Yeah.
And then in this show, she's only 1 C.
Well, I think I know.
I think it's gone woke and I hate it.
You think having a smaller butt is
Woke. Yes.
Okay. That's an interesting take that we won't get into. But I think that the shot that you're thinking of where she's kind of, now I might be misremembering, and this is from the comic, where you see her kind of like,
describe it slowly.
she's got like
Yeah.
one leg is straight out and the other is not straight out. It's bent.
And it creates an illusion of
It's her butt looks
thickums.
large in that, and she's like, prone, I think probably from battle, and is looking up. So I don't know that, because you know how especially animation is like, they are drawn with different proportions in different points of view just because it's hard to draw things well. So I don't know that, I don't remember her always being like that. I'm not sure that I was aware of
She wasn't.
butts.
I'm teasing. There are plenty of screenshots of her in the original series also having a flat butt.
Oh, I see.
But there are people on the internet who are upset, who are like, look what was
They're
taken
like,
from
I like
us.
big butts.
And you
will
cannot
not.
lie.
They cannot lie, and they won't.
Now, Len,
Yes.
as someone who did not like the original series, as I did not, what did you think?
Rogue's butt.
What did you think?
You like Rogue's ass. You hated the old show.
Go.
How do you feel now?
I liked it. I did like it.
Nice.
I
So
did
wait, the
like.
flat
I think
ass of the show
I think the.
does not engage.
I think that the animation. I was here.
This is why he left you guys.
I think the animation is well done in that it tries to mimic what was done before, but improve on it because to do it, in today's, style would just be totally different.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And it is the better for it, right?
It's like kind of the same animation, but more kinetic and fluid in a way that we can do now.
Better.
I was
But
going
the
to say
same style.
it's
Nuanced.
It's CG digitally animated, but they do go in and draw.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah, and you could see it. You could tell the difference, and I think that makes a difference in, for me, my experience in watching it. Now, the X-Men are nothing but a soap opera in capes.
Yeah.
So while some of the storytelling is good, it's a soap opera. So you're like, oh wow, this is what Dark Shadows felt like. But you know what? I'm there for it because the animation is so much better. I'm feeling the performances. They got a lot of the same voice actors back.
Yeah.
Some of them, maybe it's time for them to let go of the voice. I'm looking at you, Wolverine.
I'll tell you, Scott Summers, though, I'm listening to it and I'm like,
and it's not even the original guy.
I heard, right? Because he passed away, right?
Yeah.
But Storm is the original, I believe.
Storm,
right?
Storm is the original.
Wolverine.
I think Wolverine, Storm.
Morph, I
Fiend
think.
too? No, Morph's
Maybe
different.
is Morph new?
Morph's different.
Morph's different. Jubilee's different.
Professor X?
Well, we haven't really heard.
We've heard him
yet.
though. Like Morph, that's what he sounds like.
I think Gambit's the original.
Is he?
I think so.
Don't get much
It's
better
not-
than this.
It's not the original Rogue.
No.
No, it's not the original.
No,
Rogue.
not at all. Because that like her patois is not the same.
Oh,
No.
I thought it sounded a little strange.
It's not the same at all.
Magneto?
I think.
He apparently
I'm not sure
pronounces
about Magneto.
it.
I'm not sure.
He's a silver fox
You know,
in this show, though.
How about
There is.
Magneto out?
He's
Magneto
ripped as shit.
guns out.
Right.
Yeah.
With a weird
Um,
choice that I know it was a costume from that time, but they could have done the whole sleeves, but they
He's
went
like,
with this
Chloe
long
Diesel,
long gloves.
But you know what? Actually, I've turned a corner. They should get together. He's too
the
hot.
two of them.
Yeah,
He's too hot.
very hot.
He's too hot.
He's very hot. She cannot and does
To
not
your
want
point
to
about it being a
resist.
soap opera, yes, and that's why I'm glad it's only 10 episodes.
Oh, is
Like,
that the
because if
case?
this
Yes.
went on for like 20 something, I would have. I know myself, and I wouldn't have given a shit after a while.
Mhm.
Like these are great, tight little hits.
Yeah.
and I don't need. I think it's 2 seasons so far, 10 episodes
that
each,
have been bought.
Right.
and
But
we'll
this
see.
has got its own story, and then the next one. Yeah.
And even though you can tell that they're kind of like probably going to be like a blending of a few X-Men greatest hits in here because you see what happened to Storm,
Mhm.
which we
Right.
both kind of think is going to lead
different
to,
ones, but like
to two main stories with her. So
Well, the old show was like that too. I mean, they were one of the first maybe to like adapt stories from comics, like they did.
yeah,
Dark
but the
Phoenix
old story
saga.
because it was, for network television, they would be like 22 season episodes,
right.
it will be stretched out so long. You know, now it's got to be tight. You know what I mean?
Now, speaking of Magneto taking over, right? He's got the last will and testament of Charles Xavier,
which is a Bible.
Book lengths.
Published.
It's leather bound.
Published and engraved. I saw that. I noticed the same thing. I was like, Charles.
And as to the
he
T-shirt
doesn't
that I have in the fifth drawer,
everything like down to the last sock. Yeah.
Right. And if 10 years from now these things happen, I would like you to do this. However, if this goes on longer, yes.
Yeah, but it probably, of all those pages, it's all Eric's.
Yeah. Then just some pictures doing this.
In front of shit like, I want to see if anybody has any kind of talent out there. Can you just draw me Professor X in a will doing the dab? Just like dabbing her.
I do have one bone of contention.
Oh, to pick?
Contend it.
I will.
Okay.
And tend that bone.
My remembrance of Rogue is that she may touch your hand and then absorb your powers.
Oh, not your abilities.
Not your abilities. Not your mental capacity to perform surgery.
You want to split that hair?
That is kind of new, right?
Maybe all of his memories of training.
Right. And he thinks about it a lot. So
I don't know.
There's a scene where they need her to do something and the doctor won't do it because he won't operate on a mutant. And so they're like, hey, Rogue, touch him and learn how to be a surgeon. And she was like, nailed it. Yeah.
And she does the Like a Surgeon Weird Al song. That was cool.
So I noticed that too. And I was like, oh, is that something she can do?
Is that something Morph can do? Because he also has people's abilities, at least the purely physical ones.
I don't understand how he has adamantium claws.
He also manifests weapons. Like
that's what I'm
when
saying.
He's Psylocke. Well, I mean, that's at least part of him, and he could maybe sharp enough, but he has a separate sword when he becomes Psylocke.
Or like when he's Colossus, he seems to have Colossus's power, like Sabretooths or whatever. But does he have telepathy when he's Jean Grey? You know, I don't know.
I think he shouldn't.
No, I don't.
Right. You know what? If we were gonna like fake sci-fi it, I would think nothing internal, but external you could fabricate with density shifting. Right?
And like maybe they're not.
I can see the swords or something like that.
If I could make my hand a blade, I can augment the density to be blade-like versus.
Well, does he have the density portion of in his ability, or is he just taking on the fabrication?
Oh, so you guys may or may not have read the little character bios at the end.
Oh,
which I did for the first, because I was like, oh, character bios, that's cool. I haven't seen one of those in a while. And it says in Morphs that he takes on the physical abilities of people that he morphs into.
Okay.
But I wonder if it's like, well, Wolverine's claws are still stronger.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
I'm sure if they went head to head,
they can't be actual.
But it's just like, I mean, I guess that's just like Mimic. Mimic is able to take on 5, right? It was like 5 different mutants' abilities at once from the Exiles.
Mm-hmm.
So like claws, wings, and something like,
Where Morph also is really, where Morph took the public favor was in Exiles, I think. Because he was in this and it was cool, but he was kind of in and out real quick.
It was Morph and Blink.
Yeah, they need to collect that. They need to omnibus collect that Judd Winnick's Exiles. At least the first like 30 something issues.
But yeah, he was gone, and JD, you may not or probably don't know this, but he was taken over by Mr. Sinister for a while, and he's got this like sunken eye look, and he was a bad guy for a bit. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of the Doctor that doesn't want to help her, and the main villains of, well, some of the main villains of the story, the Friends of Humanity, it was nice and a little sad that it's not always that way now to see the racists are bad guys, and you don't need more than that. They're the racists, and they are bad.
Yeah.
You know, they're like...
Hot take.
Right. Like, these guys are the villains, and you can tell because they hate the mutants for who they are.
Yes.
And that's just the way that it is.
But that's why the show is now woke.
Right. And like, yeah, you remember in the 90s when it was like, that's what at least is in the children's cartoons that we're saying the world is like and what we aspire for the world to be. And that's why we show them this. And I liked that.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I would not be surprised if the entire executioner speech was just like pulled from a Reddit post of
Yeah.
somebody bitching,
Yeah.
just like word for word
Yeah.
of somebody bitching
Yeah.
about minorities whining.
Mhm.
Yeah. He just didn't say you're not my X-Men.
Yeah. No, my hashtag, not my X-Men.
Robin Rose says, I laughed out loud when Jean tells Logan that he's here. And he says, who, Apocalypse? I don't remember that bit.
I remember that.
The pregnancy bit. Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
funny.
It was like, no, the child.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like when, and she uses her her
His coat and his
telepathy
keys.
to throw his coat and his keys at him.
Yeah.
I love that. It was so quick. And then Rogue semi-permanently stole Carol Danvers' powers and memories.
Yes, that was from the famous Avengers.
So memories
Yeah.
do count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, in fact, she didn't
but
have her-
memories is
Not the same thing as talent or skill.
That's
also
what
memory.
that's what I said. You could
Yes.
split that
Yeah.
hair, I guess, if you really wanted to. Memories of training to do a thing. You could.
Right. And
kinda
Carol
do it.
Danvers
I
was
don't
like
know.
an extreme situation where she lost her own memories for a while, I think,
Mhm.
because of that. Yeah.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
Chris
why there's
Dunn said,
contention between them, right?
He
Yeah.
said, "Tuh." That's
You know
true.
what, Chris? All day.
truer
Yeah,
words.
It's true.
Truer words.
But yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of really, really fun stuff in the
Yeah.
show. I'm really delighted by
I
it.
think it's interesting too that so Storm's story, at least in the beginning, is she, I guess spoilers are okay for the second episode. She loses her powers, right? And it's interesting because she is, I think, the most effective character for that to happen to, right? You can't be somebody like Rogue, of course, because she would be like,
a bit of a
well, it's a
blessing.
blessing in disguise, right? Whereas Rogue is, I think, especially in this show, they really highlight her like regal and stoic nature, you know? And she has been dealt this really bad hand and she loves being a mutant, right?
I was
The
gonna
other
say,
ones are
like,
mostly like,
The episode
take it or
before,
leave it.
she literally had a conversation with Jean about how it's a blessing and she would never want
right.
to. Yeah,
She's like, this is me and I love this. And when
it's
she
a power that's always on because there's always
Right.
weather, right? Like
Right.
she's always in tune with what's happening.
well, that's her first thing. She's like, the breeze is gone,
Yeah.
which
I
must
feel
be
it,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
she has this awareness of everything that is happening that is now ripped from her.
it's the most, and also too, she's arguably the most powerful member. So
Yeah, she's the Omega level.
plot wise,
Yeah, that's right. The Sentinel goes Omega level level
I missed that.
mutant
the
detective.
Sentinel, the
for-
Sentinel literally says like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
Omega level,
Run.
she's
the bitch is back."
What is give him the forecast?
She's got a good line too. Yeah.
Yeah.
she's the most, she's the strongest member of the team as of right now. So
Well, because Jean's not.
But to
She's
that
pregnant.
point,
taking
though,
her off the
because I feel like
block,
she,
right?
I feel like she is probably the powerfulest, maybe next to Jean, but Jean because of the baby or whatever. But what I did also, taking in it, is that in the first episode, her and Bishop are taken down so easily. And then you see
Bishop's taken down really easily in the second episode too.
See, my only thing about Bishop is two things. One, he's using a gun, then he's using Force Blast. Do choose a weapon.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is Bishop is really past my time with the X-Men, so I've never really got a clear how.
That's kind of when I jumped in.
Like what his deal is, like what his powers are.
Yeah, how cool is he supposed to be?
Yeah.
But the fact that he gets taken down with Storm very easily, and then Cyclops comes in and starts hemming up dudes, I'm like, that don't look right.
You know, at least Storm I could understand because Storm, there's only so much you can do with weather powers. If you think about Dr. Octavius, right? He's got all those arms, but under those arms, he's just a dude getting pummeled in the face.
Okay,
Yeah.
So like Storm, I could be like, if you get a shot at Storm, a wind isn't gonna.
Oh,
You-
like
I mean-
she has very few defensive.
Yes.
If she
Yes.
can't hit you with some lightning or a hurricane,
Yeah.
she could be taken out.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I
That's
still
the
don't
way
see
I-
that.
But it might be like a Superman and Justice League Unlimited thing or Justice League show.
Oh no, I know
where-
this is what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes they don't go down the right
gotta
way.
take-
yeah.
Bishop has a really, really good moment in the third episode that you haven't gotten to yet, where it does kind of articulate his powers a lot better.
Okay.
The gun, like he just absorbs and releases. He doesn't like have a storage of energy.
Okay.
So it's it's a thing. Now I do remember in the movie version of Bishop, who was 2 seconds in a
Yeah.
bad movie. He took the energy and he siphoned it into a gun to blast it, as opposed to like, I mean, it's like a
movie thing. It's like
a live action.
We can't have two things thing.
That's a live action way of kind of communicating how
what
his
he's doing.
functions.
Probably easier to CG a gun.
Not even
shot
easier to
too.
CG a gun. It just there's a mechanic to it and a limitation to it versus.
Also,
which
if
you
I'm a
need.
dude who has to rely on getting hit first before I can do anything, having a gun makes sense.
Oh yeah, see that to what Len was saying, like it does make sense because he has a limited store of energy. So there would be times when he's like, I'm going to use my gun because maybe it's a lower level.
I don't have any energy. Yeah.
Or right, but it's a cool power because when he gets hit, he's being powered up. You know?
Only hit
So
with
when he
energy
was knocked
though.
out, he was
No, kinetic energy, I think, counts.
I thought kinetic energy was
Well-
just.
Well, he was on a rest. He was resting.
It was like a power nap.
Yeah.
wait. No. I do want to know, like, is it he could just like and do something like.
I think
I thought kinetic energy was
Bishop, I'm
Gambit.
Corner hand boning.
Fucking jerking off. I'm getting ready.
I can do this a lot of ways. This is just one way, and I like it.
Shunk. No, I think the kinetic energy. I thought the kinetic energy was Gambit. He could take any kinetic energy and charge an object.
Yes, that's Gambit.
Yeah.
But does
he could
does
charge the
Gambit need
object.
to absorb it first?
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't.
He
Generates
takes, he takes latent kinetic energy in an object and charges it, whereas Bishop has to absorb external incoming energy.
Yes.
So like Cyclops can charge his ass up, Storm can charge his ass up, but he can't just like run into a wall or get punched.
No, I
and
think
have
the
a blast.
punching, the kinetic energy of the punch, I think
Oh,
he
get
can
punched.
absorb
Yeah,
it.
I think so.
Yeah,
You can absorb like
think
that.
so.
But okay, then the power level of that, like if a racist punches me versus a lightning strike, that's like a firecracker or a cannon, right? So like it's he's got to take a lot of fucking pummeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does he
normal
feel
person.
the pummeling, or is he
Yes.
absorbing it so it doesn't hurt
Because
him?
he's just a regular dude until he
It
gets,
does. It hurts. Yeah.
which is why he gets knocked the fuck out and takes a power nap.
There's a threshold. So like if he like let's say Storm is like I'm gonna hit you with 15 lightning bolts, there's a threshold of like effort and absorption, so he's not like killed by the lightning bolts. But if it's all small hits constantly, fucker's concussed before he has enough to like shoot a beam. Yeah.
So, according to something on the internet, on Marvel.com. So this is a little comics, not
Tell me
necessarily.
how wrong I am. Come on.
Not at all. Or originally not at all, but then when I convinced you, then you became more wrong.
What is it?
Because I was wrong. Bishop can absorb energy, either ambient or directed towards him, and can project that energy from his body in the form of concussive blasts. He can store absorbed energy, and it allows him a measure of invulnerability. So, well, my guess is probably different writers have interpreted that.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Why they're saying
you know
a
what?
measure.
Also, he probably has just a level of storage in general to take hits.
And I guess stuff like sunlight also counts, right? That is energy, or heat, just ambient. That's what they say.
So he
It's
could just like sit in a tanning bed and
he could.
Oh,
Hard
speaking of Sunspot showing up was pretty cool, and having him be the new
viewpoint,
as opposed to Jubilee, and Jubilee having aged and learned some stuff until now was pretty cool.
His name is Roberto da Costa, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is interesting. We were talking about Fire earlier, the member of the JLI. Beatrice da Costa. Two energy transforming characters who fly around and are named da Costa.
That's neat.
And with also kind of like Beatrice, Roberto is kind of Bob, you know. Yeah, that's
neat.
interesting. I thought that was one of the only times that I noticed something more modern in it, right? Because they do a pretty good job of Bishop Gambit wearing his hard body shirt and the cassette stores and whatever. Jubilee says the word besties, which I do not believe was something from that time.
Burn this show with fire.
I like it. I want it to be nebulous. It's like with
97.
It's not nebulous. It's literally 97.
It's a 97, not unlike our own, but a little bit.
Honestly,
unlike our own.
and to be completely honest with you, the very first time I saw the title, I did not think that dates the show. That dates the concept of the show.
Yeah, I thought that too, but then I was like, oh no, we're literally in 97.
But also, it's kind of nebulous in the same way that Batman the Animated Series is
Well, sure, like
the 40s
40s-ish.
or
Yeah.
the far future.
Yeah.
They just don't have the same
Yeah.
take. So like, I don't care.
And like Cyclops
Yeah.
had his hat backwards with his hair coming out of it. Like in the 90s. Remember that?
He did do
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Half shirts like in the 90s. Everyone's playing basketball together.
That's
like
what I was
in the
getting ready to say.
90s.
I was getting ready to bring up the basketball. I remember that one being one of my favorite issues was
yeah.
like the in-between issues where they play
Softball.
a
You
sport.
play a sport? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
or
always fun.
basketball.
They always
Yeah.
had a softball tournament. I thought basketball was mostly just the animated show.
I think
No,
it
there was a
but-
basketball issue drawn by Jim Lee. Yep. And they all decide that they're not going to play with their powers. But then,
I like it when they do the
Gambit-
powers, though.
even though he wasn't playing with his powers, one of his powers is natural agility.
What are you going to do?
So right, exactly. So
Right.
then they got pissed off that Gambit was like doing Spidey flips and everything. They're like,
Yeah.
no powers. He's like, I can't help it. So then Storm winds up using her powers and
That's when it's fun.
peak Jinx.
How do you determine what is a
The
power,
highest,
right?
the top shelf
Yeah.
Jinx.
Top shelf Jinx.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's gotta be
Yeah.
high.
Are we
It's like
done?
Martian Manhunter, who was like, "Oh no, I've lost my powers." But what exactly do you think of as your powers?
Yeah.
This is what you do.
All of you is
No,
powers.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Like my ability to walk is a power. Like,
Are we done?
I mean,
cover
it
it
it was a good show.
It's a
yeah.
great show. Check it out
Third
if you're not
episode
watching
is
X-Men
awesome.
97.
Yeah,
as
third
well.
episode's really dope.
Yeah, I'm going to watch episode 3 hopefully soon when I get home.
Comes out every Wednesday. Let's go.
Just like
Yeah,
us.
new comic book day.
yeah, new comic
And
day.
new comic book day and new
Mhm.
Cold Pop day. Speaking of Cold Pop day, this morning Noel and I finally got together again and we did another episode of Fresh Floppies. We talked about comic
Comics.
books.
Nice.
We did
we talked
Ultimate
about the new
Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man,
Duke.
Batman Dark Age, Duke, Masterpiece number 4, a bunch of new comic
What's
books
Duke
that are out
all
today.
about?
from G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
it was awesome. It's so good. Oh, never mind. I was excited to tell you about it, but I guess we won't get into it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk at you later. Maybe.
Young John.